Welcome back, guys. In this video, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper and we're talking about marketing personas and how you can use them to drive more traffic to your website and ultimately get more sales. The first thing we need to ask ourselves really is, what is a marketing persona? Now, it's quite simple, really. A marketing persona is just like an avatar that you create for one particular type of customer or client that you are trying to serve or attract to your business. There's no point in treating everyone the same. What marketing works for, a Fortune 500 banking company is going to be completely different to, a small startup skate shop, for example. Different words will appeal to the different people in different ways. So you've got to change and adapt your messaging and how you approach it, depending on who it is you want to attract. So why do we create marketing personas? Well, simple. The end goal here is to drive more customers to your website and then convert more of those customers into actual paying customers. So what marketing personas does is it helps you really focus your marketing message and connect with your target audience on a much deeper level, something that they can personally identify with, which will help them know, like, and trust you. So here's an example. Let's say you own a local deli and you find that a lot of your customers actually come from the building site that's nearby. Well, in that scenario, maybe instead of creating an ad or campaign, just targeting anyone who likes food, which is everyone, right? Try something a little bit more specific, like refuel your body while you recharge your power tools. Create a builder's lunchtime special. So what that will do is connect more with those individual people. Now, it shouldn't alienate everyone else, because you can change, you can have multiple campaigns live at the same time. But if a builder saw that, they can say that, oh, that's me. It feels like you're talking to them personally. Think about as well, if you were a fisherman, let's say, and you're fishing for tuna, then you would use the best bait and the best techniques for catching tuna. You would know where the tuna hang out and what they like to eat and what's going to attract them to your hook. Yeah. But if you went fishing for salmon, they would probably have very different likes and dislikes, different habitats even. You're going to find salmon in a different place to where you're going to find tuna. Don't ask me where, I'm not a fisherman. So yeah, so that's the point. Use different techniques and different campaigns to attract different types of people. Okay, so now we've got that clear, let's talk about how to actually create your own marketing persona. Okay, so the first step really is you need to clearly define who your target audience is. Now, this was something that was really difficult for me in the early stages of my business. It took me quite a while to really figure this out because I didn't want to alienate other people who weren't in my niche. So if this is something that you're struggling with yourself, what I would suggest you do is have a real good think about, if you were to describe yourself to a complete stranger, how would you do that? So this is the question that probably helped me the most. There's a high probability that you will like working with people who are like you. So if you can answer this question, then it probably tells you quite a lot about who your tribe is and who your community is. Where do you feel at home? And that's, I would say, is a really good place to start. Now, different businesses are obviously different. So, for example, if you were a local business that, could only serve customers locally, then the local area is probably very important to you, and you would want to include that in your persona. Where does your persona live ideally? What part of town do they live in? But if you sell goods or services online and can either ship them or work remotely, then you're probably going to set this up a little bit differently. So it depends on your own individual business, but hopefully you can still use the tips in this video regardless of what it is you do. Now, don't be afraid to get really, really targeted at this stage. As I said, you can create as many of these different personas as you like, but it's really important to get really, really specific, and we'll cover an example in just a little bit about how specific you want to be here. If you're already in business, let's say you've been already you're operating for a year or two, then why don't you have a look at your previous customers? That way you'll actually have names that you can put to faces, and you've got something a bit more tangible to go after. So yeah, take some inspiration. Who did you really enjoy working for? And you could even at this stage take a note of who you didn't enjoy working with, and try to make sure your marketing is going in the opposite way to attract the people that you do want. And I forgot to say, just before we go any further, if you're enjoying this so far, or like any of our previous videos, please drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment, anything you like. I'm really trying to grow this based on what is valuable to you guys. So please let me know if there was a particular part that you actually really liked. Okay, the next stage in creating your persona is then to do some research on your target audience. So the initial stage of you creating the persona just by sort of guessing and using common sense is only the first stage. Now what you need to do is prove that what you thought about these people is actually the case. So we spoke about this a little bit in the previous video. You could do things like asking them to fill out surveys or do short interview questions, or even you could get them together in focus groups. So you could use all of those methods to just verify that what you thought about your persona is actually true. Most of the world actually puts their entire life on display these days through social media posts. So if you know what kind of person you're trying to define here, there's nothing wrong with just having a look at a few people's, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. Have a look at their posts and see what they're posting about. And you can actually use that to your advantage as well. I would also ask them some key questions about your business idea or your product offering, just to make sure that, again, you're not developing a product that nobody wants, which is what we spoke about in the first video. We don't want to do that. So ask them some questions about, if you had this problem, would this solve it? Or you could even ask them open questions like, tell me what your biggest obstacle is right now in business. So we've got all that gathered information. We kind of have an idea for who our target audience is. We have spoken with them a little bit just to verify what we thought. Maybe what we initially thought has now changed based on speaking with them. All of these little things are going to really help you grow and properly understand what your customers want from you. So now that you've gathered all that, it's time to actually create the persona. So start off by giving your persona a name and a demographic profile. Then you want to add information about their motivations, their needs, what they want, and some behavior patterns maybe. Now you can go a step further if you like and actually give your persona a face and use a stock photo just to help bring it to life and make it a bit more imaginable for you. So here's an example of a marketing persona. This is just completely made up, but hopefully it makes sense to you. So my ideal client, her name is Sarah Smith, and Sarah's a 25-year-old woman who lives in London. Sarah is health conscious and is always looking for new ways to improve her lifestyle. She's also very price sensitive and is always on the lookout for great deals. So the needs are that Sarah needs products that are good for your health and won't break the bank. In terms of behavioral patterns, she's an avid social media user and loves to share her experiences with her friends and followers. She's also a very loyal customer and tends to stick with the brands she knows and trusts. So from this information, if we go back to the deli example from earlier, you may decide to run a campaign along the lines of healthy and hip-friendly lunchtime options for busy professionals. Share with your friends for 10% off. So that covers the fact that Sarah is health conscious. She's a busy professional, so she will hopefully identify with that statement. And she loves to share things with her friends. So the offer here is give this a share, something that you like doing anyway, and you'll get 10% off your next order. So those three elements should hopefully really appeal to someone like Sarah. Now, you might then have another persona over here that's completely different, and you will tailor a different ad campaign to that. So that's it. Now all that's left to do is actually take some action here. And this is the most important part. I always think it's better to be done than perfect. The next steps are you need to use your persona in all of your marketing decisions moving forward. When you're creating any sort of content for social media or anywhere else, even for your website, ask yourself, what would Sarah Smith want to see? What is important to these personas? You know, you may only have one, you may have 3, you may have 10, who knows? But what would they resonate with? And if you keep your persona in mind with all these little decisions that you make, you'll be sure to connect with them on a deeper level and achieve better results overall. I'm going to leave you now with a little phrase. I may have completely made this up. I have no idea. I may have heard it somewhere. But if you cast too wide a net, you'll either catch no fish at all or you'll catch a shark. Does that make sense? Neither of them is what you went fishing for that day, so don't do it. Thanks very much for listening in. If you liked this, give it a like, subscribe, tune into some of our next videos where we're going to be talking about things like how to create content that appeals to your personas, how to do keyword research for SEO, and how to get backlinks to your website as well.